In today's video, we'll be exploring 10 facts about the expectations of modesty in Islam. When comparing expectations of modesty around the world, there certainly is a big cultural gap in the way people in the West deal with modesty and privacy of the body, and the way individuals in the Muslim world do, regardless of their level of Islamic practice. In Islam, the way a body is presented is connected to the concept of honor, dignity, and privacy. Today's video will allow us to dive deeper into the concept of modesty according to the teachings of Islam. So let's get started. So let's start with talking about modesty at a historical glance. Muslims in their first century at first were relaxed about female dress. When the son of a prominent companion of the Prophet asked his wife Aisha bint Salah to veil her face, she answered, "Since the Almighty hath put on me the stamp of beauty, it is my wish that the public should view the beauty and thereby recognize his grace unto them. On no account, therefore, will I veil myself." Later on, as Islam reached other lands, regional practices, including the covering of the faces of women, were adopted by early Muslims. Today, the most familiar form of covering is known as the hijab. Interestingly, the hijab, in the same sense of veiling, can also be achieved by hanging a curtain or placing a screen between women and men to allow them to speak to each other without having to cover. Next, we'll be looking at general rules on modesty. So, the Quran gives general rules which may help in understanding how to interpret dress and other rules in modern times. Surah 7, Ayah 26 says, "O ye children of Adam, we have bestowed clothing upon you to cover your shame, as well as to be an adornment to you. But the dress of righteousness, that is best. Such are among the signs of Allah that they may receive admonition." So basically what this is saying is that clothing does not have to be drab or boring. It is all right for both sexes to use clothing to enhance beauty as well as to cover nakedness. The most important thing is to be modest and righteous. Alright, so fact number 8 takes us to looking at men and modesty. So Surah 24, Ayah 30 says, "Say to the believing men that they should lower their gaze and guard their modesty. That will make for greater purity for them, and Allah is well acquainted with all that they do." Now, both men and women are commanded to lower their gazes and guard their modesty. However, men in particular are instructed to avoid the temptation of staring at women in order to remain pure of mind. Moving on to women and modesty, there are a lot more regulations here. So some Muslim women wear full body garments that only expose their eyes. Some cover every part of the body except their face and hands. And some believe only their hair or their cleavage is compulsory to hide. And others do not observe any special dress rules. In the Quran, Surah 24, Ayah 3 mentions that, "And say to the believing women that they should lower their gaze and guard their modesty, that they should not display their beauty and ornaments, except what must ordinarily appear thereof, that they should draw their veils over their bosoms and not display their beauty except to their husbands," and a list of relatives, "or small children, household servants, and that they should not strike their feet in order to draw attention to their hidden ornament. And O ye believers, turn ye all together towards Allah that ye may attain bliss." So I know that was quite a long passage, so we're gonna break that down a bit. Muslim women are required to observe the hijab in front of any man they could theoretically marry. The most basic interpretation of guard their modesty is to cover the private parts, which includes the chest for women. And when we're talking about zina, ornaments, it is another word with numerous meanings. It has been interpreted to mean body parts, beauty, fine clothes, or literal ornaments like jewelry. If we're looking at the jewelry interpretation, this is supported by the instruction of women not to stamp their feet to draw attention to themselves, as it used to be the practice among Arabian women to wear ankle chains to attract men. Now, the phrase "what must ordinarily appear thereof" has been interpreted in many different ways. A popular interpretation of this phrase is that women should only show the body parts that are necessary for day-to-day tasks. This is usually taken to be the face and the hands. However, some scholars do recommend hiding every part of the body but the eyes. The style of burqa worn by some women even hides the eyes. Muslims who oppose full concealment say that if Allah wanted women to hide their entire bodies, there would have been no need to tell Muslim men to lower their gaze. Which is a really interesting point, so I want to know how you feel about this. Next, we'll be looking at elderly women and modesty. So the rules are actually relaxed for elderly women. Surah 24, Ayah 60 says that such elderly women as are past the prospect of marriage, there is no blame on them if they lay aside their outer garments, provided they make not a wanton display of their beauty. But it is best for them to be modest, and Allah is one who sees and knows all things. Moving on to fact number 5, looking at modesty for the purpose of personal safety. Surah 33, Ayah 59 says, O Prophet, tell thy wives and daughters and the believing women that they should cast their outer garments over their persons when abroad. That is most convenient, and that they should be known as such and not molested. And Allah is often forgiving, most merciful. So this verse is directed to all Muslim women, and it indicates that dressing modestly in outer coverings such as the abaya or burqa allows for women to be recognized as Muslims and to avoid being harassed. Historically and even today, it is believed that it is not very safe for women to go out without covering, as they could be mistaken for prostitutes or assaulted. Now let's talk about a screening curtain. So when the Quran first mentioned the concept of hijab, it was not actually as just a veil or a headscarf. Hijab was used in the context of a barrier or screen, as in this Quranic verse, Surah 33, Ayah 53. And when ye ask the Prophet's wives for anything ye want, ask them from before a screen. That makes for greater purity for your hearts and for theirs. Taken in historical context, this verse seems to have been primarily intended to give the Prophet's wives some protection against nuisance visitors and people who were looking to gossip about them. Interestingly, gossip and slander were a great concern at the time that the verses relating to hijab were revealed. One set of verses, Surah 24, Ayah 1 and onwards, came immediately after the Prophet's wife Aisha was accused and acquitted of adultery. Moving on to our next fact, the Arabic word awra refers to the parts of the body which must be covered with clothing. Awra is any part of the body for both men and women which may not be visible to the public. It is interpreted differently depending upon the gender of the company that one is in. So for men, most Muslims accept that for men, everything between the navel and the knee is awra and therefore should be covered at all times. And for women, the rules are a little bit more complicated. There are a number of scenarios for women which are outlined. So in front of unrelated men, Muslim or non-Muslim, women must cover everything except the hands and the face. In front of close male relatives, awra is the navel to the knee and the stomach and the back. And in front of other Muslim females, awra is from the navel down to and including the knees. And moving on to talking about modesty between husbands and wives. So there are actually no restrictions on what a husband and a wife may show to each other in private. The Quran encourages married couples to enjoy each other's bodies. And looking at modesty for individuals in private, Islam highly values modesty, so even when alone, men and women are recommended never to be completely naked and to cover from the navel to the knee. Exceptions do apply, of course, where necessary, for example, taking a shower or going to the bathroom. And bringing us down to fact number 1, our last fact of today, we're looking at modesty and prayer. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, Allah does not accept the prayer of a woman who has reached puberty unless she wears a veil and has all parts of her covered that are considered to be awra. It is well accepted by most scholars that while praying, women must cover everything except the hands and face. It is forbidden to cover the face while praying unless a woman is in the presence of a man who is not of direct relation to her. Men must cover from the navel to the knee when praying. Thanks for tuning in to today's 10 facts about modesty in Islam. I learned a lot and I hope you did too. Tell me, what was the most surprising fact from our video today? Or maybe you even have more information regarding modesty in Islam to share with us. We're always happy to learn from you, so please let us know. And if you enjoyed this video, I've got another similar video for you below in the description section, so be sure to give it a click. It's been a pleasure sharing with you today, and I'm excited to see where our next video takes us. Check in daily for new videos on FTD Facts.